Season 3 of the Winfield ASC has seen prize money and travel contingencies blow out to $330,000, making it the richest motorsport contest in Australia. So what was needed then to win this 4-state Super Bowl?
A lot of luck, good engine, good crew, a lot of money.
Be fast consistently and finish.
Everybody's in the same boat, and things can go wrong for any and everybody, and you've just got to capitalise on every chance you get.
It takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort and a lot of dedication.
A lot of guts, determination, and a big heap of money.
It's the hardest thing to do. It overruns the Australian title, the annual classic, anything like that. To be consistent for 10 rounds and come out the winner, you know, you really deserve it. You know, I think the winner of this sort of a series is really the Australian champion.
Defending champ George Tatnell set quick time for the series opener, but the qualifying heats were spiced with close racing and the odd incident, like this woody woodpecker that resulted in promoters looking for their Black & Decker. By main event time, 16 of the swiftest sprinters in the country were primed, and it was young lady Leadfoot Sharon Marriott who had pole and was ready to park her tush on the Claremont Cush. Chasing a red-hot lady was too much for John Walsh. He later apologised to Tatnell for being frisky rather than risky. The restart saw Gary Satori steal the advantage from Marriott, while Walsh and Tatnell continued their dice. Walsh headed for the infield after his seatbelt snap, and Tatnell quickly honed in on Marriott and Satori. Brett Lacey had an awful night. This ding led to a busted wing, and he was done. This allowed Satori and Tatnell to run wide open at the front of the pack. Tatnell finally pulled off a well-timed inside pass to collar the lead. Max Dumsney, who'd started up the back due to a controversial noise infringement, was wowing the fans as he closed up on the tail of Brooke Tatnell in the closing stages of the race. At the checker, it was Tatnell by George from Satori, with Dumsney third and Brooke fourth. But Max was not impressed with the Claremont boys who handled the noise.
We were penalised on a muffler technicality, which was highly unfair. We were judged for being too loud wrongly, from the wrong position. It wasn't as per what is asked for by the council around here. It was as per what the promoter asked for, and there was other guys that were noisy that didn't get penalised, I feel.
There's a lot of rules and regulations that are laid down, and you know, if you don't conform to them, you've got to prepare to cop the consequences of it. But there's a lot of race car drivers out there. Max was one that suffered tonight by losing points. I don't know what the points were over because we didn't get involved with it.
Round 2 took the teams to Bunbury Speedway the very next night. The 500-metre oval was somewhere between tacky and stacky. Just ask American Jack Hewitt, who dumped in one of the heats, as did local boy Eddie Gobby. In the case of the not-so-steady Eddie, he was dusted, busted and slightly disgusted. The start of the final saw Brooke Tatnell off pole, and that was about as close as the rest of the field got to him for the remainder of the evening. He kept the throttle all the way to the floor. So too did Ian Bradford, only he forgot to turn. Brad Hayward held second for the restart, but was smothered by Tatnell Senior as Dumsney ranged up to make life even more interesting. Just when everything had settled down, local Mark Wells lost the plot and termite tested the local timber. On the restart, Brooke bolted, as did Dumsney, out-dragging GT to the first turn. The track was going away, but so too was Brooke. Tatnell Jr. had them covered, leading Dumsney, Dad, Phil March and Ron Cricky to the wire.
Yeah, well, I was hoping to do well in the series, but I wasn't expecting to do this well so early in the part. It's my first trip across to Western Australia, but there's no complaints on my behalf.
Yeah, it was looking pretty promising. The car was super fast, and I thought we were faster than anyone else here tonight, but it proved different, didn't it?
Round 3 of the series took the troops to balmy Adelaide, where it was hot, hot, hot. Even the cars were chasing the extinguishers for a drink. Nipper Lacey was the first to provide the heat race hiccups, then entered Bill Porter, paid the penalty for not doing what he ought to. The final was a ripper with local Phil March on pole and baby-faced Brooke on the outside. Row 2 was shared between Brett the Jet and the hard-honking Hayward. March won the Winfield at Speedway Park last year and was tipped to clean up again. Only problem was Tatnall Jr. wasn't in on the game plan and he wanted to make it 2 in a row. It was settling down to be quite a race, but then Hewitt blew it, dumping the Donaldson while avoiding a full brawl with the wall. Tatnall Jr. continued to lead over March and Hayward. The young bloke was on the boil, while March was easing. The twice Winfield champ got by for second as Dumsney arrived in the Sydney OTR machine. He worked away at the inside groove while GT immediately dropped into the clutches of March, who tapped the tail of the Winfield 5 and then brought the infield alive. The restart closed up the field and saw Brooke away cleanly from Dumsney, with Bicycling George a competitive third. Dumsney then clipped the leader's car, putting himself into a spin and then deflating the inside tyre on the Winfield 8. The youngster battled on, but the inevitable was but a lap away. Finally it popped, which put Brooke into a spin and gave George his only grin. He was now the leader, and it was on for young and old. To his credit, Dumsney came charging back through the pack. He lined up Lacey for a lash at second, only to bring the pair of them undone in the biggest possible way. John Walsh was a deserving second, and Brad the Lad was third.
Where I looked at it was a pretty desperate sort of move that Max put on, and you know, that's racing. You know, once you try that hard, well, then you know that you've got to accept the consequences. You know, we've done the same sort of thing, and you know, but that's what it's all about. You know,
we've got another 5 rounds to go, and we have to keep finishing up near the front all the time now, I think, to catch up to George and Brooke and Max.
Can you win it from here?
Oh, I certainly think so, as it proved tonight that nobody's invincible, and there was quite a hot field of cars here tonight. A percentage of them ended up in the fence, and that could very well happen again.
What about George Tatnall? Can he be beaten?
He certainly can, but he's just a hard nut to crack, but we'll do.
Mount Gambier was the venue for round 4 of the series, and things got off to a spectacular start thanks to Paul Lindbergh. Luck was running the same for the Chipper Nipper, who's now perfected the Ripper Flipper. Main event time saw Phil March and Chaz Calandro splitting the front line with Jamie Moyle and Dumsney from row 2. Unfortunately, Moyle's race was to finish early after he walloped the wall and brought on the yellow. The restart saw Phil steal a March as they headed into turn 1. Walsh was looking good, but then overcooked things and spun the model down through the infield. The Mount Gambier Oval boasts one of the best clay mixtures in Australia. This episode of winged warfare between March and Valvoline Max was a treat for all the fans. Lap after lap they attacked. George Tatnall held on for third and was never too far off mounting a late challenge. At the finish, though, it was March from Max and the ever-present Tatnall.
It's a long time since we've had a good win, so that's good. I enjoy it.
So 4 rounds down and 4 to go. The leaderboard showed GT 1,040 points clear of Max Dumsney. Third was Baby Brooke, the son of a gun, then Phil March, Brad Hayward and Johnny Walsh. Newcastle Motordrome was the venue for round 5, and everyone, it seemed, was brimming with confidence.
We came here to win, and that's what we're hoping for. A lot of good cars, a lot of competition. Jack Hewitt, Rush, and all the boys are. You know, it's going to be one hell of a race.
Yeah, we feel very confident. I think that both the Winfield cars, Brooke and I, should run up at the front. You know, with just a reasonable amount of luck. I don't think we'll have too much dramas with it.
With the Tatnalls threatening to turn this meet into an episode of Family Ties, the heats produced a couple of surprises. Notably, American Jack Hewitt, who was running like a house on fire. A windstorm, though, took the heat out of the evening and the surface off the racetrack just as the main event started. Brooke won the kick, but Dad unfortunately bashed the boards and retired. Tatnall Jr. led them at the restart, with Hewitt, Smith, Rush and Dumsney all indulging in some helter-skelter. Brooke then dropped the model, and on a concrete hard surface, it was national champ Gary Rush who tamed Max Dumsney, while Danny Smith collected third.
We went out there to play to finish. We had a gale force wind blowing across the track and it really made it difficult. I'd say that's what took George out in the first lap. The wind sort of just got a hold of his car and took him out, and along with a bunch of other guys, so it was just take it easy type track and finish where you can. It was not the best track at all because the wind was so strong.
Round 6 of the championship and a new stop on the trail, Bluevale Speedway at Gunnedah in New South Wales. The Country Circle is one of the best appointed little ovals on the tour and was given the thumbs up by most of the cast.
I think all the boys are going to enjoy this one because it seems to me that the people that own the place or run the place know what they're doing. I think they've spent a lot of money in the right direction. There doesn't seem to be any wasted money. You know, as far as I can see, they've done everything right, and the facilities look fantastic, and that track's going to be real good very soon.
The evening's activities commenced with series leader Tatnell doing a fantastic impression of a demented Dalmatian. Son Brooke then had his wings slip forward and create problems. They then became young Rush's problems too. New recruit Rod Bowen looked strong till he slipped, and then Brad Hayward tipped. Young Queenslander Nathan McDonald also had his share of troubles, but the heats clearly indicated the final could well be a head-to-head confrontation between Tatnell and the strong-running Dumsney. The front row saw Bowen and Lindbergh secure, with teenager rages Tatnell and Rush from the second line. Bowen stormed to the front as the green came out and the field headed to turn 1. Queenslander Lindbergh said he felt comfortable on the surface, so maybe it was the kangaroo juice he had in the car. Rush Jr. and Bowen tangled on the front straight, which gave the lead to Rush Sr. Hayward then got it around as Nipper did his usual trick. The restart saw Dumsney charge around the pack on the high line. It was a game move considering the bumpy track, and it claimed the number 5 Valvoline, if you know what I mean. The restart saw Rush in control from Lindbergh, Rush Jr., Dennis Farr and George Tatnell, and that's the way they finished.
Oh, it was a hard race. Of course, on those rough tracks, it's always a hard race and works overtime on the car and overtime on yourself, and you just got to hang in there and stick to your guns and stick it out to the end.
It's great to sort of try and get up there. We knew we sort of had it there, but the last few shows, unfortunately, we've had a few accidents and a few rollovers, and we felt a bit embarrassed about it all. And not only that, we've had a few engine problems too, but it's finally started to come together.
Well, Max obviously was going very fast, and he come around the outside of me. He just got by, and I'd say he's up high, and he hit a bump, and he's come across my bow, I would say. But at the instant he done that, I was putting my foot in it. I think I tapped him, and he went over, and I feel really bad for it.
The penultimate round of the championship was at Charlton Speedway, Toowoomba. The pressure was mounting, though geriatric George certainly wasn't showing it.
I generally thrive on the pressure, and the Sykes generally have to go back on the other blokes to catch us if they can, and that's the way we're approaching it. Tonight we want to win, and then we want to win at Archerfield next week. But
His lead's really starting to narrow now. There's some people really coming good, getting a good stride together, and I think he's a little worried.
He's definitely been a little worried, but this is George's type of racetrack, and I sort of think that George got every possibility of going well here tonight.
The track was super fast, and so too was Billy Barrows. Must have thought he was full borer at Eldora. The final saw Adelaide whiz march on pole with Lindbergh alongside, while Dumsney and Nathan McDonald shared the second line. The burn to the first turn was so good, in fact, the field rehearsed it. Over, and over, and over, and over again. When they actually did find a way of turning a lap without a yellow flag, March was off like Wilson Tucky at a John Howard fundraiser. Lindbergh held a consistent second, while Rush Sr. had claimed third with some smart inside running. Just when it had settled down, Lindbergh the aviator reached for the stars, forgetting to keep his feet on the ground. Mark Hodges tried a little of the same. But all the time, March continued to open the gap on his rivals. Outdistancing Rush and Dumsney as GT failed to finish. With all the restarts, the event had taken an hour, and without a comfort stop too.
My biggest problem was I've never sat in the car that long and I was getting a sore ass. But other than that, it's okay.
And so they came to Archerfield Astrodome in Brisbane for the grand final. Not once, but twice due to rain. The form guide of all the front runners was impressive. This was not going to be a one-horse race.
Well, the way we've been going, we've been beating George quite consistently lately, so hopefully we can do it again tonight.
As much as I'd like to win it, it's Dad's year, and let's hope it can stay that way.
Yes, it's a long shot for us, but we've got to be in it to win it, and we're pleased with the car preparation. We've got a fresh engine in it. We should be giving it our best shot.
I guess if I'm going to win it, I think Max or George has to have a few problems. They have to finish way back down the track a bit. But you never know, racing's like that. That can happen.
There's a fair amount of pride, ego, or whatever you want to call it on this one, and we've led the chase from day one with it, and we want to win it again. And I think that the pressure. Well, we feel that the pressure's on the other blokes. So.
The final saw Dumsney on the front row and Tacknell from 6. And keep in mind, in order to win the crown for a third year, the 50-year-old had to beat his challenger by 1 finishing position. Dumsney took off the line like a man possessed. March dropped into 2nd, Rush was 3rd, and Tacknell already to 4th. March then spun as the field closed up, but it was starting to rain harder. Time was running out. Tacknell then started an inspired charge. He rounded up Rush and passed him. The rain, though, was pelting down. When the yellow came out after an incident involving Gary Rush and Bailou, the decision to declare the contest was taken. Dumsney was the round winner and the new champion too.
That's racing, but that's all you can do. You can't whinge and moan about it. It's you start off next week and away you go again.
It's not a fair result. It's not as far as I'm concerned. It's not a point score race.
I really don't think George would have got near us, but it's sort of sad that I couldn't have beaten him in the full amount of laps, so he didn't have anything to whinge about. But George is George, and anyway, it was a good race.
Final points for the series showed Dumsney the winner by 120 from the defending champion. 3rd went to late starter Rush, 4th to March, and 5th to Brooke Tacknell.